Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. Today is 28, right? 28 of June, 3 p.m. Moscow time, middle of the day, and this is traditional Sunday community chat, of course, older and fundraising stream. So, if you liked my work during the past week, I hope you will consider to join the fundraising and help her maintaining this project for next week and so on. You can use for that PayPal, Boosty, Patreon, everything counts, of course. Super Chat on Rumble, premium gift card on Rumble, subscription gift card on Patreon. There is many ways how one can support. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And I mentioned Rumble, isn't it? So let me drop link to my Rumble channel. I'm streaming simultaneously on both my channels on YouTube and Rumble. So if you have a counter, subscribe to my Rumble channel. You never know, YouTube might take down my channel any day, really. So we can stay in touch through Rumble and other means. And so, as always, I have prepared a news segment for you. And after the news segment, I will react if there will be any questions through Super Chat or other support platforms, PayPal, Boosty. If there is no questions, then I will react also on questions in the chat. I will join the community chatter, and please use capital letter at least, so that I will spot your commentary as directed to me. It's all the usual stuff, dear friends. Veterans of our community know how this community chat works, right? Sunday streams. So, without further delay, let's go through some news now, and I will, as quite often, start with their update about work of Russian air defense forces past night. 213 drones were intercepted during the nighttime, according to Defense Ministry's update. Drones were intercepted over the Belgorod, Bryansk, Voronezh, Kaluga, Kursk, Oryol, Rostov, Ryazan, Tambov, Tula regions, Krasnodar Krai, Moscow region, Republic of Crimea, and over the waters of Azov and Black Seas. Vast geography of these long-range attacks on Russian Federation, as you can see, orchestrated obviously by NATO member states, while hiding behind their Ukrainian proxies for sake of plausible deniability. Although everyone knows in this world that all these attacks, all these long-range attacks, are orchestrated by NATO member states. So for whom they are playing around or messing around this plausible deniability, I don't know, but everyone understands what's going on, isn't it? And during these attacks, dear friends, one of the directions was Slavyansk na Kubani area in the Krasnodar Krai, where oil refinery was targeted. According to reports that I see on internet, this is one of the biggest privately owned oil refineries that processes about 4 or 5 million tons of oil annually. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And unfortunately, based on video and photo materials that I've seen, probably damage done to this refinery was serious, which will further deteriorate the overall situation in regards to fuel supplies here in Russia. This oil refinery in Slavyansk na Kubani also was actively working on export of petroleum products. So I guess there will be some difficulties in this regard. Also unfortunate, but that's the reality that we are facing on daily basis, these long-range attacks on logistical, energy infrastructure, other civilian infrastructure. TASS news agency is reporting that during this attack on the Krasnodar region, at least one civilian was killed there, and this is still preliminary information. Also, there are reports that in the Yaroslavl region, oil refinery, another one was targeted there, and there are some images on internet. Probably this one was much smaller than one in Krasnodar Krai, but nevertheless, at this point, as I said, Kyiv regime and its NATO backers are basically targeting the same energy infrastructure that they have already targeted as time goes by, of course, engineers are doing their best to restore their production on these oil refineries, and then another wave of these drones are targeting these plants. Engineers start all over there again, and it's a circle. It's a circle that is happening for quite a while now. And as I have said many times before, only a realistic way how we can minimize number of drones that are launched towards Russia is to restore deterrent with the collective West, because absolutely vast majority of these drones, also flight path, targeting data, intelligence, everything is coming from NATO member states. So once the deterrent is restored, that will mean that NATO member states will get out of this conflict, and in that case, there will be much less attacks on the Russian Federation and their Russian military and security services. I think in that case, we'll in a relatively short time, will finalize special military operation. But as of now, deterrent is not restored, and NATO member states are behaving around Russia, acting in regards to Russia as if Russian Federation is some sort of a banana republic, not a major nuclear superpower in this world. So, unfortunate reality, but that's where we are, right? It is what it is. Also, dear friends, there were reports that in Skadovska, about 40 bus station, bus parking lot was targeted, civilian area, and there 40 buses were burned after this attack. You can see aftermath on your screen right now. And when I see it early morning today, reports about these attacks, I mean, first question come to my mind is that, how come that even though Russia is under constant attacks, right, on daily basis, some officials or whomever still are making decisions to park these vehicles right next to each other? Is this just a stupidity, or this is sabotage? Which is? Because this is just unbelievable. This is just unbelievable, and it's not just this particular case. There are many cases when buses, trucks, and all the other stuff is parked together as if they are assisting the regime and its NATO backers to take out all this stuff with a single strike, something like that. It's crazy, right? It's a fifth year of special military operation, fifth year that Western world is waging war against Russian Federation, and this kind of stuff is still happening. I don't know what to even say, man. This is just, So Ukrainian armed forces used their drones to strike a bus depot in Skadovska, Kherson region, destroying 40 buses. Alexander Dudka, head of the Skadovsk municipal district, announced this on Telegram. There were school buses there and their municipal buses. I think insanity, by the way. Insanity. This kind of stuff is honestly unexplainable. Either this is intentional sabotage of Russian Federation, or just a level of stupidity that is beyond anything, right? Just beyond anything. It's crazy. It's just freaking crazy, man, right? TASS news agency is also reporting that mayor of Energodar denied reports circulated by the Kyiv regime's propaganda that there is some sort of evacuation from the city of Energodar, and Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is basically on outskirts of this city, and Kyiv regime and its Western backers are pushing these kind of false narratives, and not just in regards to Energodar, but in regards to Crimea also, and trying to put some fear into people. They do what one should expect, right? They are enemies, so they're acting as such. In reality, there are no evacuation. If anybody wants to leave either Energodar or Crimea or any other place for time being, or whatever, they are free to do. They are free to do so, but there is no evacuation from anywhere. As of now, emergency situation was declared in Crimea to basically let their officials deal with their to have emergency powers and deal with the challenges that peninsula is facing much more rapidly without unnecessary bureaucracy. That's why emergency situation was declared, and declaration of that situation obviously indicates that it's not ideal situation. There is definitely not ideal, not just in Crimea, but in other regions of the Russian Federation also. But as I have said many times in my previous updates, no one should fail to Western propaganda, which pushes these narratives that there are evacuations here and there, and people are panicking now in Russia and they don't know what to do. It's all BS, by the way. It's all lies. Nothing of sort is actually happening. Situation in some regions are difficult, but people can deal with this situation. Majority went through 90s, by the way. So how one can scare Russian people, man? It's just technically not possible. It's just technically not possible, right? So it is what it is. Also, of course, Russian militaries were retaliating past night on military logistical energy infrastructure of the hostile side, and there were reports about explosions in Kiev, inside the city, also in direction of Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporozhye, Kherson, city part of Kherson region that is still controlled by Kiev regime, left bank of the Dnieper River. Explosions were in the Kharkov direction, and just like a few minutes ago, I saw a video on one of the Telegram channels that Russian drones basically eliminated one of the training grounds of Kiev regime's forces. Maybe later on I will share that video on my Telegram. Also, TASS news agency is reporting that Russian armed forces liberated their Pisantsy and their Novosyolovka settlements. This is different directions. Units of the Eastern group of forces of the Russian army liberated the village of Novosyolovka in the Zaporozhye region and their Pisanki in the Dnipropetrovsk region. Let me show you on the map location of these settlements. So when it comes to Zaporozhye region, this is the Novosyolovka settlement on the direction of Orekhov, by the way. Russian troops are getting closer and closer to Orekhov, and of course at some point this summer probably we will see battle for Orekhov. And this is another settlement, Pisantsy, small village, like a couple of streets, maybe 2-3 dozen of buildings, but at this point it is important. It is advanced, and of course important progress of the Russian armed forces. Of course, major attention of public and media and everybody is on on Konstantinovka and Slavyansk, Konstantinovka and Liman, by the way. In the DPR, used to be major strongholds of Kiev regime, but nowadays both these cities basically are practically fully liberated. Their cleaning operation is underway, and anytime, any day, Russian Defense Ministry might make an announcement about liberation of these settlements, and after that, only major fortified area that Kiev regime and its NATO backers will have in the DPR. On this northern-western corner of the DPR is, of course, Kramatorsk-Slavyansk agglomeration. Russian troops are advancing, and with the exception of most western flank of Zaporozhye sector, everywhere else Russian troops are advancing. When it comes to this most western flank of Zaporozhye sector, I think Russian militaries are creating trap for Kiev regime's forces there. My personal opinion, my personal take. Of course, I'm not there. I don't know what's going on, but it seems like Russian troops are inviting more and more enemy troops to take them out in this pocket. So, and Kiev regime is sending more and more troops on these suicidal attacks. So, as long as this trap is working, then there is no. Why would Russian militaries stop using these tactics there? Also, one should keep in mind that maybe one of the reasons why Kiev regime is sending on these suicidal attacks in Zaporozhye, on this western flank of Zaporozhye region, a lot of its troops, is that there is a fear in Kiev among Kiev regime and its NATO backers that this summer Russian armed forces might launch a sectoral scale offensive operation towards Zaporozhye city itself. Maybe true. I don't know, obviously, what plans General Staff of the Russian Army has, or could be true, maybe not. Who knows, right? We will find out. 1 month almost finished, right? First month of this summer. 2 more to go. Okay, that's being said, dear friends. Before I continue with some other news, let me just remind you once again that this is a big community chat, traditional Sunday community chatter and fundraising stream. And in case you like my work and want and can support to maintain this project and to stay basically in this field of news and political commentary, extremely competitive field, as you can understand, especially when your channel is in strictest possible shadow ban. Next is just a total blockage of the channel, right? So if you can and want to support, you can do it. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, after the news segment, I will highlight whatever donations project received during the stream. I always do, man. I always highlight whenever there is donations during the stream or after. So that's being said, dear friends, I can see there is a premium subscription gift card from Scooby and also super chat from Scooby on Rumble. I will make screenshot to react on it after the news segment. Just give me a sec, dear friends. Just a second. And ready. Okay. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your support, and let's continue with their other news now. Well, after recent statements of Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor of U.S. President and also head of State Department, that Anchorage summit, during the Anchorage summit, there was no agreements reached and only proposals were kind of shared between the sides, of course. Even most optimistic people began realizing that all these talks about Anchorage spirit and their Anchorage meeting and agreements, it's just that story, right? Maybe Russian leadership was hopeful that something would come out of that summit, but it's finished now, right? It's finished now. Nothing positive going to come out of it. And there are more and more media outlets, including in the West, are reporting about this. Axios, for example, shared in its article information that Trump could walk back Anchorage understandings. They are using this language, Anchorage understandings, right? Okay. Russian leadership was using spirit of Anchorage. Okay. Trump allegedly said so at the G7 summit last week, which was held in Switzerland, I believe. Trump was skeptical about everything regarding Putin, talked about more pressure on Russia, and that's about it, right? Maybe press spokesman of the Russian president, Peskov, will react on these reports from Axios, maybe not, or about many reports that Trump during the G7 summit was fully on board, and when it comes to this war against Russian Federation that Western ruling class is waging, and was pushing actually for more pressure. I'm not surprised, you are not surprised, but the Russian president probably is surprised because it's him that believed into Trump and his team, right? For whatever reason. I don't know why. It's unexplainable to me personally how this very experienced politician that Putin is, how he failed to this trap, how he failed to this deception that U.S. administration come up with, right? But they failed, right? Because looks like they actually believe that something positive will come out of it. Well, I wonder what they think now. And it is so disappointing and so upsetting, by the way, that due to this barely explainable attitude of Russian president towards Western ruling class, towards US ruling class, his naivety or whatever it is. I don't know, whatever it is. Um, Countries like UK and I mean quasi-states basically, right? UK is not even a decent country, by the way, right? With all due respect to British people, but come on, man, you don't really have a country, right? Your country longer being hijacked from you, right? And you have no say in not just in future of your country, but in future of your own self. I mean, this is just true, painful, true, but it is true nevertheless, right? So it is ever more disappointing and upsetting that that Russian people and the Russian Federation is being terrorized by entities like United Kingdom that don't really represent anything, any force, and countries like Germany and France, quasi-states, anything but actual powerhouses, right? And on this very matter, by the way, in previous my updates, I said that UK don't even have a freaking army or navy or air force. I mean, a real one, significant one, right? That you can take for a force, actual force. And RT also reported about it that UK left without nuclear attack subs. So the UK's entire fleet of nuclear powered attack submarines is currently stuck in a port due to maintenance bottlenecks. UK Defense Journal reported on Saturday former Royal Navy officers have warned that the situation makes Britain look toothless, aimed their continuing standoff with Russia. And by the way, even with these attack submarines, UK is a joke, right? As a military power, entire British Army would not even fill up their Wembley Stadium, man. What are we? Entire British Army would not even be able to fill up freaking Wembley Stadium, legendary Wembley Stadium. So what are we talking about? British Navy, joke. British Air Force, joke. British Armed Forces, joke, right? And because of this restraint policy that Moscow is implementing, I don't know why, leadership, ruling class of UK feels free, despite not being any significant power, actually, to terrorize Russian people. Because, well, unfortunately, they still have secret services. They still have some special forces that are well capable of conducting terrorist attacks and orchestrating other hostile actions against Russian Federation. Any countries, we take any weakest country in this world or quasi-state in this world, their secret services will also be able to do something, right? But it does not mean that a country itself or quasi-state itself is some sort of a power. Same goes for UK, obviously. I mean, it's becoming ever more frustrating, by the way, how we end up in this situation when these non-freaking entities are terrorizing us, man, left and right. I mean, it makes no sense, right? And it's not just UK, dear friends. It's not just UK. Germany is, of course, also extremely aggressive against Russian Federation. And dear friends, when I'm talking about countries, I mean leadership of those countries. Never ever I'm gonna go after societies, by the way, right? I'm not gonna designate societies as an enemies. I might be critical of my society and any other society, obviously, right? And there is a lot to critique. But whenever I'm talking about enemies of Russia, I don't mean people of those countries. I mean ruling class of those entities, right? And Germany is another one. Germany is another one, of course, that loves to harm German leadership. I have to be specific always, isn't it? Because some people are then, in the comments, they are writing that, well, we are not against you and so on. And I understand this, man. I have said a million times. Sorry, dear friends, I have to make a screenshot. There was a $10 donation on a Boosty. And I will make a screenshot if I may. There was a $10 donation from Mojo. And let me make a screenshot to highlight. Thank you very much, Mojo, for your $10 donation through Boosty. And I will react on your commenter straight after a new segment, of course. And so Germany is another one, of course. Germany is another one that is extremely hostile. And they have a timetable, isn't it? Western ruling class, when they would love to see direct or open clashes with the Russian Federation. They think they're going to be, or the armed force is going to be ready for that time, and it's 2029, 2030, isn't it? I predicted a long time ago that, in my personal opinion, direct, I cannot tell you scale, but direct clashes between Russian and NATO militaries probably will happen either before end of this year or in the first half of next year. Zelensky's regime, the regime, not going to last until 2029, 2030. Impossible, just impossible, right? But Western ruling class still is hopeful, that it will last, and they are preparing, right, their military-industrial complex, their armed forces to fight Russia by that time. And how hopeless they are, by the way. To know how hopeless they are, let me give you some stats. Germany failed so miserably attracting young people to join armed forces as volunteers that in 2027 they might introduce conscription, mandatory conscription again, right, after a long time. And so far, during the active campaign in Germany to attract these young people, you know how many actually volunteered to join armed forces? This is just I don't know, man. This is from RT, right? So they check the numbers. I hope so, right? Because it's hard to believe, but actual number of volunteers is 530. 530. This clearly indicates that German people, especially young people in Germany, no matter how much indoctrinated they are due to propaganda into Russia hate and xenophobia and racism and all that negativity, they don't want to fight. They don't want to end up in a war. And I guess they don't want to end up in a war, neither against Russia, neither against any other country. They just don't want war. So, as I said, it is ever more frustrating and heartbreaking, by the way, that we are allowing ruling class of these non-entities like UK, like Germany, like France, and all the rest to harm Russian people with impunity, to harm Russian Federation with impunity for so long now, for so many years. Makes no sense, man. Absolutely makes no sense. And well, as I said, man, quite a few times before, weakest linker here in Russia is leadership, political leadership, right? And let me tell you, if tomorrow Russian president decided that well, he had enough and he is resigning, not gonna happen, but if he will do something like that, that will be probably biggest hit on the Western ruling class that he did since the beginning of this war. If he will resign, that will be strongest strike on interests of the Western ruling class from Putin since the beginning of the war. That's how bad as a wartime leader Putin is, in my personal opinion. Some people might disagree with me, some people might agree with me, but I think Putin is so bad, by the way, as a wartime leader, that if he resigns, that will be tremendous strike and a shock for Western ruling class. They're going to be terrified, thinking about, wow, who's going to be in power now, right? Which forces and what to expect. While as long as Putin is in power, they know, well, Putin will do nothing to harm Western elites and their interests, right? Because That's what Putin is doing for so long now. I mean, this is not a question. This is just factual statement, right? Based on objective reality. I wonder if Putin understands this, man. I wonder if Putin understands this. Of course, he wants his judgments, his policies are based on what he sees as the best for Russian people, I guess, because that's how all leaders should operate. But I think he's misinformed, he's misled, intentionally or unintentionally, God knows. But he's just too weak, man, as a wartime leader. Too weak, too bad, right? Unfortunately. And in the West, by the way, this demonization of Putin, I think, is a intentional deception campaign to actually keep Putin in power, because they know more they talk negative about Putin, then Kremlin and Kremlin's propaganda will have more reasons to say, you see, entire West is against Putin, so therefore we have to rally around Putin. Flag and Putin is not the same. Putin is not Russia, right? Putin is just one citizen of Russia. And so I think this demonization of Putin is also part of this campaign, media campaign, in which West is horrifyingly good, by the way, unfortunately, right? They know how to mislead people, how to manipulate people. That's how Western ruling class was dominating the world for the last 300 to 500 years, man. They know some stuff, right? And I think this campaign towards demonization of Putin is definitely part of it, right? Because they understand that for whatever reason, Putin and his presidency, especially during the wartime, was extremely profitable for them, for the Western ruling class, and they're extremely good for them, right? For the Western ruling class. They feel like they are on top of their mountain now. They are on top of the game because of their weak response from Russian Federation on all their hostility that Western ruling class come up with as of now. And Russia is responding weak because of the Putin. He is not authorizing Russian security services and militaries to basically do what is necessary. But yet again, after, hopefully, let's hope, by the way, that Putin will wake up after recent statements of Rubio, that Anchorage was nothing, just exchange of opinions and stuff. And hopefully he will let militaries and securities to do whatever is necessary by means that militaries and security services will say is necessary, because they are specialists in this field, right? Not me, not Putin, but Russian militaries and security services. They know what is needed to restore the deterrent and to do everything else. So no one should intervene, right? Let them do the job. Just give them a green light, right? And they will finish the job, right? In a way which will be good for Russian people. Anyways, dear friends. Meanwhile, this row between Poland and the Kiev regime continues. Popularity of Polish President Nawrocki surges after stripping Zelensky of a White Eagle order. He's up to 54, 8% rise compared to months before. And as you know, dear friends, the order was revoked. This is highest order that Poland is giving to anybody, right? And this order was revoked by Polish president for naming of Ukrainian battalions of Kiev regime's forces after their Nazi war criminals, Ukrainian Nazi war criminals, since the times of Second World War. And Polish leadership, Polish elites decided that now is the time to begin noticing that there is a issue of Nazism and the fascism in Kiev-controlled territory. Of course, they knew that this was an issue, They knew it perfectly well, but for whatever reason, they decided that now is the time to escalate, and that's what they do. And their Polish people, by the way, are on board. As you can see, Polish people are on board because I'm quite sure many Poles, by the way, remember perfectly well that Ukrainian Nazis during the Second World War, while cooperating with Nazi Germany, were exterminating entire settlements, by the way. Hundreds of thousands of Poles and Russians and all the other people were killed by those Nazis. And Zelensky and his henchmen, they are giving the names of those mass murderers, leaders of those mass murderers, Ukrainian Nazis, to military formations. And well, Warsaw says, no, enough is enough, we are escalating now. And I think, as I have said many times before, this escalation is not random. Of course, this is not random. Warsaw is preparing ground to reclaim western parts of Ukraine that used to be Eastern Poland before Second World War. That's what is going on, by the way. Also, well, globalists, as you know, are extremely emboldened with their impunity with which they are killing Russian citizens, destroying Russian infrastructure for a fifth year now, and they are quite confident that they are winning. In public statements, they are openly talking about it, and it looks like they believe in this nonsense. Looks like some of them, maybe not all of them are that stupid in Western ruling class, but some of them clearly believe in this nonsense, right? And they are pushing for more and more weapons and more money to be allocated for the Kyiv regime. And soon, during the upcoming NATO summit, there will be discussion among NATO member states to allocate 140 billion euros on top of all the other billions and billions that already been allocated, right? Including 90 billion euro loan from EU to Kyiv regime that just recently was approved. And well, you might think, dear friends, that well, that's quite a lot of money, and Kyiv and Zelensky and his regiment will be happy about it, but not necessarily, because you know what, isn't it? They want more. By the way, they want more. And well, when it comes to this NATO's intent to allocate 140 billion euros, well, Slovakian Fico, Prime Minister Roberto Fico, stated that Bratislava will not support this idea, not support financing of the Kyiv regime. But I don't know if Bratislava or the Prime Minister there, Roberto Fico, will be able to block such a decision of their globalists if final decision is made. But either way, Kyiv regime wants more. Kyiv regime wants more, and $154 billion more, at least $154 million more, on top of all the promises and everything that already been approved and so on, right? And this is if NATO will allocate that 140 billion euros, that will go for weapons mostly, right, to finance the war. But Kyiv regime wants $154 billion to finance its own self, state institutions, basically, to pay salaries, to pay pensions, and to do everything else, right? Without Western support, that's why Ukraine is a fake entity, right? This is not really the state. Without tremendous financial, political, military, media aid from the West, this entity would not exist, right? It cannot. It will fail under its own weight. And now they are demanding $154 billion for next several years. This year, in 2026, they want 46.4 billion to maintain their functioning of its governmental bodies. They want 47.7 billion in 2027, 35 billion in 2028, 24.7 billion in 2029. And as you can see, there is a decline in the numbers, right? As time goes by, most they want this year, 35 billion they want next year to finance, formally to finance government. And in 2028, they want 24.7 billion. And why is that, you think? Probably they think, they're not going to last that long. So they want to get maximum money as they possibly can from the West this year and next year to steal as much as possible, right? Because most of them understand they're not going to last until up to 2029, 2030, man. Just not happening. Not happening. Question I have also, on top of everything, by the way, is that how long, what it takes for Western societies to wake up. What it will take for Western societies to wake up, really. Because this is their money. It's a Western taxpayers that are paying all of it, right? It's not aliens, it's Western taxpayers. So what it takes for those taxpayers to wake up and to say to their own governments, wait, what are you doing? Our society is facing so many issues here, right? Our economy and social fabric and this and that, and you are spending hundreds of billions of dollars or euros on prolongation of this war and to finance Kiev regime's government and its social obligations. Really? But I'm not sure Western societies even understand this, man. I'm not sure Western people in the West, majority, even knows that they are paying for salaries of all their bureaucrats in Ukraine, everybody, right? Everybody. They are paying pensions also. They are paying salaries for Kiev regime's militaries and everything else. I'm not sure European people know about it, man. Most of them, at least. But anyways, man, I mean, appetite in Kiev is clearly, I mean, like a big appetite is big, right? Let's continue with some other news. Well, Trump once again threatened Iran to destroy, to obliterate in his yet another True Social post. And well, US militaries went to bomb Iran again. Multiple targets was struck according to SATCOM, and past night that is happening, dear friends. And Iran retaliated on US military assets in Kuwait and Bahrain as a response. So region, as I said, by the way, while these talks were going on about memorandum of understanding and this and that, I said this is all BS. Western ruling class will maintain this region in instability, and that's exactly what is happening. That's exactly what is happening. This every now and tit for tat exchange of fire every now and then, plus Israeli actions in Gaza, in Lebanon, of course, will keep this region in instability and at least partially isolated from the rest of the world, while Western ruling class will prepare their proxy regimes and militaries of those regimes for the next phase of a war, which is going to happen around later autumn, early winter, I think. And clearly, the situation is moving in that direction. If anybody believed that this memorandum of understanding will actually lead towards the peace, sustainable peace, sorry to say, but those people were misled. Also, interesting developments were taking place in Baghdad, by the way, capital of Iraq. A late nighter, heavy military equipment, special forces, and then gunfire, by the way, also was heard and seen in green zone, so-called green zone in the central part of Baghdad, where U.S. embassy is located and governmental offices are located, and also residential area where officials, most of the high-ranking officials are living. And straight away speculations began. What is going on? Is it a coup d'etat? Is it like assault on U.S. embassy, or what what's going on. And to this moment, there is very little reports, only speculations out there. Looks like, based on what I read on the matter, dear friends, it does looks like current Iraqi government is going after under the umbrella of fight against corruption. Current government in Iraq is going after permanent political figures, many of whom are Sunni political figures that are well connected with the US and Israel. And so looks like this is not necessarily a coup d'etat, but some sort of a clearing operation is happening by governmental forces to minimize, I guess, a level of infiltration of Iraqi leadership, political leadership, by foreign forces, Israel, US first and foremost, and because, according to reports, number of permanent Sunni political figures were detained. There is a risk, of course, that potentially this might trigger sectarian violence in Iraq, because, as you know, dear friends, majority Iraqis are Shiite Muslims, minority is Sunni Muslims, and among Sunni Muslims there is also a significant divide, because there are Arab Sunni Muslims and there are Kurdish Sunni Muslims, and Kurdish and Arab Kurdish Sunni Muslims and Arab Sunni minorities, they are not really friends of each other, to say the least, right? Because one should keep in mind that during the Saddam Hussein, by the way, Sunnis were in charge, and it was a Sunni regime that was gassing, basically, with Western assistance, Kurdish people. Saddam Hussein obviously was using chemical weapons against Kurdish people, against Iranian people, also against Shiites. And so there is divide among Iraqi Sunnis too, because yet again, there are Arabs and there are Kurdish people, and Kurdish people are not Arab people. Kurdish people are Iranic speaking people. They are more related to Iranians than to Arabs. So something is happening, something serious is happening in Iraq. I'm not an expert, obviously, in Iraqi politics. I barely know anything, right? Little bit of geography and a little bit of history. That's about it. And it is difficult for me, obviously, to have a good understanding of what's happening. But I think my reading of the big picture is more or less accurate. Let's see how will situation develop, and let's hope there's going to be no sectarian violence. In Iraq. And also Iranian foreign minister, it so happened that Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi is in Baghdad today. His visit was planned, by the way, so it was a planned visit, and he made quite a number of statements there. For example, he said that people and the government of Iraq he's thanked basically people and the government of Iraq for supporting Iranian people, victims of US-Israeli aggression. And he made quite a number of other statements, including in regards to Strait of Hormuz. And he also said that every time US escalates, there will be appropriate response from Iranian side. Hardly anybody has any doubts about it. So some interesting stuff is going on in Iraq. Also, neighbor of Iran, obviously. Serbia, we have news from Serbia, dear friends. Yesterday, during his speech before his supporters, Vučić stated that in a few weeks' time he will resign, and there will be early elections in the country. And Well, okay. I mean, I can only hope that Serbian people will rally around their true patriots, right? And hopefully, Serbian people will not allow globalists to destroy their country and the rest. Hopefully, Serbian people will stay strong and united because globalists are after these people big time, right? After Soviet Union collapsed, the first thing what they did is they went after Yugoslavia. They went after Serbian people, globalists, by the way. And it is unfortunate that some Serbs forget about it. Looks like, or maybe did not forget about it, but are on the payroll of Western secret services, directly or indirectly through NGOs and the rest of their stuff. So soon elections are in Serbia. Let's see what's going to happen there. Would not be surprised at all if elections will be hijacked, right? I don't really believe that they can be real elections in any country that is either fully or partially controlled by Western elites. So they will write down numbers that they want, as they did in Armenia, by the way, as they did in Armenia just recently. And I will end the news segment, dear friends, on this interesting report that Russia and China conducted a joint air patrol in the Pacific Ocean. Russian aerospace forces and the Chinese Air Force conducted a joint air patrol over the Pacific Ocean, Chinese Ministry of Defense reported. This was their 11th joint strategic air patrol in their airspace over the Sea of Japan, East China Sea, and the Western Pacific Ocean. Ministry noted there. It is highlighted that this combined operation demonstrated the shared commitment of Moscow and Beijing to maintaining regional peace and stability. Also, PLA's Navy ships completed their visit to Vladivostok and left their main base of Pacific Fleet of the Russian Federation. And what can I say, man? Good. More cooperation. If anything, we and Chinese, we need more cooperation, right? To overcome whatever stereotypical ideas we might have about each other or whatever mistrust we might have about each other. More cooperation will help with that, right? More contacts, more travel, more combined businesses, because we are just destined to be good neighbors and strategic partners, actually. We are just destined to be good allies, right? Because of the Western ruling class, because of this extreme insanity of the Western ruling class that dreams about destroying both Russia and China. Only competitors on a geopolitical scale that they see. And so I can only welcome this this operation and all the other steps, by the way, that we will take together. Of course, not against anybody, or if against anybody, that anybody going to be Western world, right? Not the Western world, sorry, let me use correct words, correct designation, against Western ruling class. Against Western ruling class, yeah. But not against our neighbors, right? Because this is very important for Russia because of our long-standing strategical partnership with India. And unfortunately, China and India are not really on they don't really have a best possible relationships, right? Unfortunately, but maybe these two great nations will resolve their territorial disputes and all the other issues in upcoming years. So let's hope for that, and there will be true actual de-escalation, right, between New Delhi and Beijing. Let's hope so. But Moscow, of course, has to build a good strategical partnership with both, with China, with India, and also with other regional countries, by the way, for sake of humanity, not just for sake of ourselves, right, and our safety, but for sake of humanity, because we have to deter Western ruling class until they cause some extinction level event, man. And they will, if they are not being deterred. So good that cooperation between Russian military, Chinese military is increasing. And so there was two donations through PayPal. Anna dropped screenshots of these donations, and if I may, dear friends, I will highlight now donations as of now, donations that I see as of now, and the questions and their comments, and then let's have a community chat. As I said, dear friends, you can use super chat feature to send your question or commentary, super chat feature on Rumble, or you can send your question or commentary through Boosty platform or through PayPal platform. And well, let's go step by step now. Let's highlight her. And this is from Rumble. Scooby, thank you very much for your premium subscription gift card on Rumble, which is a $5 donation to this project, and also thank you for super chat. And Scooby is commenting. Let me turn off this. Thank you for your super chat, Scooby, and the $2 donation through super chatter. And comment was listening to Leila Hudson recently point out that the Assad regime in Syria was actually hated by the vast majority of people living under it. The regime being overthrown was likely inevitable. Well, I never been in Syria, and therefore I cannot know, of course, what attitude society had towards Bashar Assad or his father, Hafez Assad, right? They ran Syria for a very long time. I mean, if you combine years, right? And I don't know attitude of society, but in my personal opinion, Syria was run not really greatly. And the indicator of that is that even though Assad and his government, they were secular government, right? Even though, I mean, that was their big deal, society did not fight. Syrians did not fight. When the Western ruling class, Zionists, and their Turkish allies unleash this final wave of terrorist invasion of the country, locals did not fight. Even army did not fight. Right? And that says something. You know. Probably they did not fight because they did not wanted to die so that Assad's regime will be saved. Maybe that was the calculus of the people that refused to fight. I don't know, but clearly Assad failed to build their proper system that will serve the people and will keep the people happy. Otherwise, people would fight. So I think there is a point in statements of Leila Hudson. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not familiar with her, but it's just simple. If people were happy, if people trusted Assad and his government, they will fight. They would fight in that case, but they didn't. So I'm not saying that they made the right decision, because now they are under the rules of radicals, right? Now they are under the, if before there was at least a secular government, now it's the radicals are in power, terrorists basically. So I don't think Syrian people are better off, but thank you for sharing, Scooby. Thank you for sharing, and let me also highlight the difference. There was a donation and the commentary through Boosty, and let me highlight this also difference. Thank you very much, Mojo, for your $10 donation through Boosty, and commentary from Mojo is, West knows Putin will never retaliate. Russia has no deterrence. Yeltsin selected Putin in 1999 after consulting with their oligarchs. Putin obeys their orders and protects their interests of pro-West oligarchs. Thank you very much for sharing opinion, Mojo. And I mean, we can speculate while attempting to understand what's the behind of Putin's restraint policies, but everybody is questioning this policy. What is clear, everybody is asking questions. Everybody is questioning this policy because no one understands what's going on. How this is even possible that nuclear superpower is being targeted literally on daily basis by NATO member states. Russian citizens being killed literally on daily basis as a result of these NATO attacks, as a result of these attacks orchestrated by NATO member states, let me say this way. And there are not even attempt to restore deterrent. I mean, no one understands how is this even possible, but I mean, I don't know, one of their explanations that you, me, or some other people are going to come up with will be true. And he was selected by Yeltsin, obviously, and he had a fascinating career. And he never denied that he was very much pro-Western or supporter of the cooperation with the West. He was the person who was saying that there should be one economical financial space from Lisbon, Portugal, to Vladivostok, far east of Russia. Recently, he once again mentioned this, right? So in his mind and in his heart, I guess, this dream still lives. Probably he was actually believing in this, that we can get united and we can have this unified space where there is peace and stability, and their business is doing its thing, and everyone is happy. But I don't know why he's unable to understand that Western ruling class is not about that. Western ruling class is not about cooperation and doing business properly. Western ruling class is about domination, control, and domination. And unfortunately, Putin struggles to understand this, right? I think, personally. And he is definitely influenced by certain groups of forces, including by oligarchs. I have no doubts about it. So, maybe one day someone will write some book, memoirs or something, right? And will explain what was going on in the Kremlin during these years, right, of war. But right now, everybody is asking questions, and no one has answer. Just all we can do is just speculate, right? Thank you very much for your interesting commentary, Mojo, and for your attention and support. Thank you. And dear friends, there was also donations through PayPal. Thank you very much, Christopher, for your $10 donation. And Christopher, through PayPal, and Christopher is commenting, hello, Levaner, have you seen this video? Ukrainian elite inspectoring a booby trapped Ural truck when a Russian TAT ambushed them. Here is the video link. Oh, I have not. When this happened, I don't know. Maybe I have seen so many videos, Christopher. So many videos in my, since the beginning of this conflict, that I cannot recall now exactly this situation. Something similar, maybe we are talking about same video. There was a gathering of Kiev regime's forces on the roadside. I can't remember, were they dealing with a truck or with a tank or what was going on? And on high speed, tank is moving towards them on a high speed, and once it get close, it just opened fire on a point blank range, right? And decimated the entirety of this group. Maybe that's what you are talking about. Of course, I have seen that video, and I believe I even shared on my Telegram at the time that video. Thank you very much, Christopher, for sharing. Thank you. And there was another donation, dear friends, from Richard. Thank you very much, Richard, for $20 donation through PayPal. And Richard is commenting, keep up the good work, man. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Richard, for your support, attention, and the kind words. Thank you. And dear friends, let me check Rumble. Let me check Boosty. And I will scroll now in the chat. And whenever there is a super chat or a question or the comment from support platforms, of course, I will react on those first. But until then, right now, there is no more either super chats or the comments through support platforms. So I will scroll chat, dear friends, and will try my best to be informative in reaction. If you are asking question in the chat, dear friends, just use capital Q or capital letters so that I will spot commentary faster while scrolling through chat. And capital Q. Let's see if I will spot one, or capital letters, by the way. Alexander G is commenting, Kremlin has changed their diplomatic language a bit, but still don't call out US explicitly, even after Trump tried to drone Putin. Yes, I mean, I agree with you. There is a slight change in rhetoric. This is absolutely not true, of course, but it's I don't even care what kind of language they're going to use, as long as they will restore deterrent. I want deterrent to be restored. There's different ways how this can be done, right? And as long as they will restore deterrent and keep Western ruling class and countries that they control out of this conflict, it's good, right? But will they? My question is, will Russian security services and militaries will receive green light to restore deterrent. And without involvement of security service and militaries, I don't think deterrent can be restored. At this point, statements only will not cut it, because there was just too many statements, right? When there was no follow-up steps. So statements from Moscow is not being taken seriously by anybody at this point, not just by Western ruling class, but I guess no one in this world takes statements from Moscow seriously no more, because there were so many statements, right, before that. We will do, if you do this, we will do this, and this is unacceptable, and this is this, and lists of countries were published, and companies in those countries, NATO countries, that are involved in these attacks on Russia, and warnings after warnings after warnings after warnings, and nothing happens. So now statements definitely won't cut. If Kremlin will go for restoring deterrent with the West, they have to use language, only language basically that Western ruling class understands, which is language of force. And in that case, they will need to green light Russian security services and militaries to be effective. Let's scroll. Michael Kennedy is commented, UK needs permission from Palantir to fire its nukes. I don't know about Palantir, but UK definitely needs assistance from Washington, because British nukes are based, all British warheads are on Trident missiles. There is 4 Vanguard class missiles that UK has, nuclear capable ones, and as far as I can tell, none of them are operational. Maybe they are keeping one in alive, right? But it's so old and so outdated. It's would not be surprised if not even a single Vanguard submarine is in open sea. Probably all of them are docked somewhere in Scotland. So they need Washington's permission, yes, because their Trident is American missile. It's not a British missile. Thank you for commenting, Michael. Let me scroll. I see a comment from Dylan Thomas early on. Since the USA started the war in 2014, they spent over $1 trillion on Ukraine. Now they are telling their Europeans to put up some money. Russia have demilitarized the USA. Thank you for your comment, Dylan. And I believe actual number of money or volume of money that West already either spent on this war or lost. I mean, combined volume is in trillions, I believe. Europe alone lost about 3 trillion. They lost 3 trillion just because they cut economical ties with Russia. 3 trillion, can you imagine? You are saying that US since 2014 allocated about $1 trillion for this war, which is crazy, isn't it? Which is a lot of money. And I don't know about US. US still has, of course, a lot of weapons, although Iran demilitarized US big time, because US launched, according to Pentagon, they launch up to like 12 to 18 up to 20,000 strikes, and most of their attacks, if these numbers are anywhere close to reality, most of the attacks were conducted with long-range weapons, all type of weapons, right? From Tomahawk to JSSM and so on. Thousands of missiles were spent, and right now, in terms of long-range cruise missiles, US definitely has some issues, right, to build up the stockpile again. They send a lot of ATACMS missiles to Kiev regime. 500 around 500 ATACMS missiles were sent to Kiev regime. A lot of HIMARS missiles. So in this regard, yes, Russia also demilitarized US quite a bit, but mostly in quite a few European countries being demilitarized. Remember when Roberto Fico's party won the elections in Slovakia, when they appointed defense minister, it took about like a couple of weeks for a new defense minister to look at their situation in the defense ministry, and then he came up and said that Slovakia was quite effectively demilitarized. They sent to Kiev literally everything they had. Slovakia was left without air force, without her entire stockpiles of weaponry. Slovakia was sending even weapons from armed forces, right? Weapons that were on duty. That's how bad previous government of Slovakia was. They demilitarized their own country, right? And I will say quite a number of other European NATO member states are in a similar situation when they send practically everything they could send to Kiev regime to use against Russia. Overall losses of the Western combined Western war due to this war is, I think, should be between 3 to 5 trillion, which is a lot, which is quite a lot actually. And after all, there is reasons, right, that the leading economies in Europe are in recession, and U.S. economy is not doing that great either. Also, capital Q. Levan Stopper, wishing all of the time. Yeah. You mean when I say if it was this and that? Yeah, I have to work on a presentation. I'm a writer journalist. I'm not a TV journalist, right? So I don't have these skills how to work with a camera, and I don't write text. Usually those people, by the way, they are writing text and they are just reading it, right? I don't do this stuff. It's all authentic, right? Every move, every emotion, everything is authentic. And quite often, I go smoke on the balcony and I think about program, right? I'm gonna start in like 10 minutes, and I think about certain news, and I think to myself, there is a links clearly between this, and this stuff, and I will talk about it during the program, and I'm forgetting about it because I'm not writing down. Very rarely I'm making any notes for myself, even notes, which is bad, by the way, right? I definitely need to improve myself as a presenter of the news of the program, and I also have to improve delivery. And language. I agree. I take this criticism. Oh, and another commenter, Levan, you are from Georgia. You had to leave because was so bad for you, because life was so bad for you. Russia took you in, and all you do is whine. No, I have to disagree with you. I'm from Georgia originally, of course. I'm Georgian Ossetian, and my homeland, my actual homeland, is in Russia. North Ossetia, Alania is my homeland, right? Land where my people were living long before even Kievan Rus was existing, right? Long before that, 1,000 years before that. That's how long my people are living here, right? That's the first. Secondly, I left her. I had to evacuate my family basically from Saakashvili's regime from territory that that regime was controlling in 2009, because I was in conflict with that regime due to war that they started in 2008, right? They did not like my work and work of my news agency. That's a whole old story, right? And when it comes to being here in Russia, I never ever said that I'm not grateful for Russia, but I'm grateful to Russia, to Russian people. It does not mean that I have to be like a propagandist of the Putin. I have to be a good citizen of Russia. My obligation is to be a good citizen of Russia. So, I mean, there is different takes that people have, but you are not obligated to government. You are obligated to country and their society. And I'm not whining, by the way. I don't whine. I have my criticisms, right? When something is done good, I'm acknowledging that something is done good. And when I disagree with something, I say it open. Not behind the back, but I say it straight away, openly, right? So I think this is right way to act. This is right way to be a good citizen. I don't whine. And I'm going to be forever grateful for Russian Federation and Russian people for giving us a shelter. And also, just keep in mind that my homeland, actual homeland, it so happened that it's Russia now, right? North Ossetia, Alania, because I'm Georgian Ossetian. And my roots are in a land that used to be Scytho-Sarmatian civilization, right? So you can Google where, when, and in which areas that Scytho-Sarmatian civilization was. So in this case, I mean, I cannot take criticism. I don't whine. I'm just, I'm being real. That's what should everybody do. Just be real. Let's scroll. I see Nidish is commenting. Levan, Russia should have very good relationships with Vietnam and Indonesia as well. Of course. And recently when Vietnamese delegation was here in Russia, I was thinking, maybe we will go back. We will rebuild their relationships. We have a good relationships with Vietnam, by the way. Good relationships. And I was thinking, maybe we will go back to Vietnam and build military bases. There was a Catran, if I remember correctly, Catran military base in Vietnam that Soviet Union had there during the Cold War. Anyways, I maybe maybe I forgot the name. It was a Catran base, no? Anyways, of course, we have to have good relationships with Vietnam in the region, with everybody. But first and foremost, of course, I mean, it's logical. It seems logical to have great relationships with Indonesia. Absolutely. It's a massive market, by the way, 300+ million people, isn't it? With India, we already have good relationships, and we should improve relationships further with Vietnam, obviously, and with all the other countries, and also with China, by the way, right? Somehow we have to manage, despite certain differences that our countries might have in this part of the world, we have to manage to resolve these issues, right? Because multipolar world, future of the humanity, I think, depends on capabilities of Russia, China, and India, key countries in this region, to cooperate. I think future of the humanity depends on it. So, and of course, this cooperation should involve all the other countries in the region too. Iran, 100%, by the way. I mean, one of the oldest civilizations, regional power, 100%. Potentially even with Japan. If Japan one day will get rid of American dominance, we can actually do good business with Japan. I mean, we can have a good economical ties. We may not become like strategical allies, I mean, Russia and Japan, but we can reach certain good level of cooperation if Tokyo will get rid of US dominance, of course. And with South Korea, actually, we are managing to have a more or less decent relationships, despite South Korea also being basically politically captured by the US, by Western ruling class. So I agree with you, of course. Vietnam, Indonesia, rising powers also in the region. And we have a great history, by the way, of cooperation with Vietnam. Vietnamese people, I think, still are grateful to nowadays for all the sacrifice that Soviet people went for to support Vietnamese people during their war against US aggression. It was not just supply of weapons or economical assistance. Russian militaries were fighting and dying too. Non-officially, of course. Officially, there were no Soviet militaries there, but unofficially, of course, they were. As it was case in during the Korean War too. Best pilots were Soviet pilots, isn't it? On MiG-15s. Americans were terrified. US pilots were terrified, man, to come across Soviet MiG-15s, especially if a plane was piloted by Soviet pilots. And until Americans come up with Super Sabre, they were unable to even compete with MiG-15. And when Super Sabre come up, Soviet Union had their MiG-17 already, right? But MiG-15 clearly, I mean, legendary plane. MiG-17, MiG-19 planes for transfer for next generation, and then MiG-21 come up, also legendary plane, of course. But MiG-15 definitely is forever gonna stay as a legend. Also, Nitish Kumar is commenting, Levaner, they hated Assad because he could not rebuild country after conflict. How can he rebuild when Kurds had control of oil and gas and a few other energy fields in the hands of the Turks and the sanctions? Yes, I mean, there was numerous reasons why Assad failed to build a working system in a country, and one of the reasons are ones that you mentioned, big reasons, obviously. But I think Assad first and foremost failed to combat corruption. And as I have said many times, corruption and corrupt officials are most dangerous enemies that any society and any state will ever face. Corruption and the corrupt officials, because it destroys societies, it destroys everything it touches. Destroys societies, destroys state institutions, eventually destroys states themselves. And unfortunately, Assad was extremely weak in terms of combating corruption, I think. Everyone should understand, man, how dangerous the corruption is for any country, really. And that's why I am, for example, all in support of death penalty and confiscation of everything for all corrupt officials. For all. And recently, by the way, Just Russia Party, I believe Just Russia Party actually initiated a bill in the parliament here in Russia to introduce death penalty for corrupt officials, which is a good move. I don't think as long as Putin is Russian president, moratorium will be revoked on the death penalty. that penalty is still punishment here in Russia, but there is a moratorium on this kind of punishment. But one day, maybe under their different leadership, or maybe that penalty will be restored. And I think this will be correct. One should lose everything. Corrupt officials should lose literally everything, and investigations should check everybody, family members, relatives, friends, everybody. If anyone would not be able to explain even 1,000 rubles of assets or on bank account, even 1,000 rubles, should be confiscated, everything, right? And some measures being taken. You have to tackle corruption with no mercy whatsoever. No mercy whatsoever. You know, because corruption is killing people, man. Corruption is killing societies. Corruption is killing state institutions and the states and corrupt officials. So first and foremost, I think Assad failed in terms of tackling corruption. Then comes everything else, although you mentioned, of course, key points, right? Scarcity of funds and so on. But, with funds, maybe Russia and China and Iran and other countries would help. But when Moscow sees, or Tehran sees, or Beijing, that no matter what you're going to do there, you might send there, I don't know, $1 billion. And next week, there will be nothing there. And there will be no results whatsoever. On the ground, I mean, you're not going to send another $1 billion, right? You're just not going to send. And of course, corruption is an issue everywhere, by the way. I mean, in Russia, corruption is also an issue. In US, corruption is legalized, so it is big issue, obviously, right? When people in America are asking why government is not working for them, well, they have legalized corruption, by the way. Why would government work for them, right? They have legalized the corruption. How crazy is that? And they call it lobbyism, right? And that nonsense. Unbelievable, man. I see question. Sashimi Kudo is commenting, is Ritter right that 1 million Russians died? Militants, Wagner army? Scott Ritter said there 1 million Russians died? When? I mean, where? I would watch that video. I don't think. Maybe he was misunderstood, Sashimi Kudo, because I mean, Scott Ritter is well informed. He might say sometimes some stuff that you might disagree, but usually he's spot on. Always has very interesting opinions, and there is a fields, right, where Scott Ritter has expertise based on his life experience and the professional experience. So therefore, I think there is some sort of a misunderstanding there. I don't know what he says, but I don't think he stated that 1 million Russians died, because this is nonsense, just nonsense, right? So why would he say this kind of stuff? Nonsense. I don't believe he says something like that. Probably he was misunderstood or something, right? And also Sashimi Kudo is commenting, Putin fears US nuclear war. That's why he won't attack EU. Shameful, he sees Russian kids as expendable pawns, and kiss Trump's, fifth pointer. Well, I don't know what he sees. I don't know what he's fearful of. I just don't know. I just have questions, right? As you do, and as everybody, right? How long this restraint policy going to continue, and why we even implemented this restraint policy. And you know what? Some people might say that's because maybe Putin afraid that if he retaliates while trying to restore the deterrent, on European NATO member states, then full-out nuclear war will happen. You know what? This does not work on me, these kind of arguments, because, and I don't think this will work on other people here in Russia, because we are fatalists, by the way. Majority of us are fatalists. We believe, I believe personally, that whatever has to happen will happen. It does not depend on us necessarily. Whatever has to happen will happen. I believe in fate, right? And so if full-scale nuclear war is going to happen, it's just going to happen, no matter what you do. If it's not going to happen, it won't happen. I'm simplifying now, but that's the approach that I have to the things, right? And I honestly don't think US will deploy nuclear weapons against Russia if Russian Federation retaliates on NATO member states that are engaged in this war against Russian Federation with the conventional weapons. And no one is saying we should retaliate with nuclear weapons straight away. No. Conventional weapons will do the job, right? They will retaliate probably also with a conventional weapon to save the face. And at that point, maybe there will be no need, even. Depends on the level of Western retaliation or Western strikes on Russia. If it's on a minimal level, then okay. That might be it, right? Deterrent will be restored, because anytime West will violate this new reality, deterrence, Russia will strike again, but next Russian strike will be, I guess, much more serious than previous one. So eventually, while moving on this escalatory ladder, we will finally establish deterrent, because Europe cannot go tit for tat with us. They just cannot, right? West cannot tolerate pain in a way we can. It's just that's how we are built, man. We all are different, right? And pain tolerance among us are on one level, pain tolerance in the West is on a different level, right? And I don't think Western world, Western societies can tolerate pain in a level that we can. That's how life influenced us, right? We live different lives. So therefore, we are a bit different. Quite similar in many ways, and they're also a bit different. So I don't know what is going on, of course, in Putin's mind. Is he afraid of death or something like that, or American retaliation? I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe people, as people are getting older and older, they are more sensitive to the idea of death, and are beginning to afraid or something. But I don't know. I'm not that older. I'm about 50 now, and not very young, obviously, right? I might have a stroke tomorrow, by the way. I'm dealing with blood pressure on a regular basis. So I might have a stroke tomorrow. I might die tomorrow. I don't think about it. I just don't think about it. If I die, I die. Last seconds of my life, I will pray and hope that my kids and my family, they will be happy and secure, and I will think about them. That's all, man. Because for myself, I don't really need anything. Right? Only reason I'm alive, only reason life makes any sense for me is to be useful for my family. My personal life does not really matters, really. So I don't have right to die, But people are different. I don't want to die, but that to me is like a rest, man. Good rest, And there are also opportunity to find out what's going on after. But some other people might have different takes, right? Maybe some people are terrified of idea that there is death is coming. Yes, we're all gonna die one day, right? No big deal. It's life, man. So let me, dear friends, thank you for your question and the commentary. And let me, dear friends, make a screenshot of donation and the commentary on Boosty from Alexander G. Just a sec. And also let me check Rumble. Oh, there was also on Rumble, dear friends, a premium subscription gift card from Viper and a super chat from D Modus Carter. And let me highlight her, if I may. This term. And I will continue then with the chat. Please use capital letters, dear friends, if you're sending question through chat. Or capital Q. That will do. Okay, let me highlight now. Alexander G, thank you very much for your donation, $20 donation on our Boosty, through Boosty. And also a commentary from Alexander G. I'm not going to tell you to be nicer to Norway. We got foreign agents in charge here. Criticism is deserved. I just want justice and honesty. And that's why I support you, because you do too. Thank you very much, Alexander G, for your comment, for your support, donation, attention, and kind words there. I'm not that critical of Norway, really. I'm upset with Norway because, according to Seymour Hersh, Norway's military security services were participating in Nord Stream attacks. It benefited Norway tremendously, of course, because Norway now makes a hell of a lot of money because of the lack of energy supplies from Europe. But other than that, I mean, first and foremost, this extreme insanity of these globalist puppets, right, in different countries, including Norway, it's harmful for its own citizens, isn't it? Its own people. They are harming their own people, right? They just don't think about it, don't care about it also. But yet again, it is sad, man. It is sad. One thing is the political statements and stuff. Right? It is sad that Norway was a part, according to Seymour Hersh's report. Remember, he said that U.S. was assisted by Norway, according to his sources, and there is a motive, right? There is a motive. Norway benefited tremendously. But there is no aggression, by the way, against our ordinary Norwegians. Let's be clear on that. Against anybody. You come to Russia, you just walk around and talk to people. You will see that, I mean, no one is mad about ordinary people in the West. You might talk about politics, about anything. People will be angry about Western ruling class leadership. Yes, but ordinary people, there is no aggression there. Because no one is asking those people anyways, right? Thank you very much, Alexander G. And also, dear friends, there was a from Viper premium subscription gift card on Rumble. Thank you very much, Viper, for $5 donation through this subscription gift card. And also there was a super chat on Rumble. Adimo Scatter, thank you very much. And comment for super chat and the $2 donation, and comment is thank for all your hard work keeping us informed. Thank you very much for your comment, super chat, and donation, and kind words. Thank you. Thank you. And let's continue, dear friends. Nidish is commenting, Levan, and now Kurds are paying for it, now thrown under the bus. Yes, Nidish is talking about situation in Syria, dear friends. Kurds lose the opportunity to assist. They should assist Assad's government, but instead of that, they went other way. They went other way, and they fight Assad's government. They were part of this terrorist invasion of Syria, and they've been thrown under the bus now, for sure. And maybe they are realizing that they've been played, but it's too late. It's too late, isn't it? With cooperation with their Assad's government, maybe they will manage to get political autonomy in northern western Syria. But now, under this Damascus regime, terrorist Damascus regime of Ashara, they're not going to get anything but bullets. That's it. And oppression. That's how it is. Some people are very short-minded, by the way, very short-minded. All their decisions are based on surface knowledge of something, while if they had the ability to think deeper, see deeper, they would operate differently. Kurds made such a massive mistake, by the way, while going against Assad, and also, dear friends, when it comes to Syrian Kurdish forces, I think no one in Russia is going to forgive them ever that they called on the Russian Wagner formation, they called the US Air Force. And hundreds of Wagner members, according to different accounts, died while being bombed by American Air Force. And reports are that Americans didn't even knew this was Russians there, or Wagner formations, not Russian regular troops, but Wagner, PMC Wagner formations. Only after Americans get that knowledge that Kurds call them to target Wagnerites. So no one going to forget this, no one going to forgive them, and therefore I don't really care what will happen with the Kurds in Syria. I honestly don't, man. I don't want them to be genocide, obviously. I would not support the Damascus regime to go after all those Kurds and to kill them all. Obviously, no, man. I would never support anything like that, but I would not. Other than that, by the way, I just don't give a damn what's going to be there. While if they acted more adequately, they might, by this time, Assad government could be changed, reformed, right? Will be in a different situation anyways, right? And maybe Kurds will have autonomy, political autonomy. They misread their big picture, big time, man. And they committed their unforgivable crime against Russia, in my personal opinion. So therefore, I don't care what's going to happen to them. But yet again, it does not mean that I will ever support any aggression or any genocidal actions against anybody, right? right, including those. And Damascus regime is well capable to go after Kurds and commit ethnic cleansing and the genocide. Oh, interesting. You see, uh, Daniel is commenting. You're correctly one. I heard from my Iraqi friends this morning. Oh, thank you very much. As I said, I'm not really, I don't really know much about the internal politics of Iraq. Just, just little bit of this and that. And well, thank you very much for sharing that. I was somewhere there, right? More or less close to the situation. Of course, you cannot know everything, isn't it? And once when you don't know, you just say it. You just say it so that it's all clear. Thank you very much. And also this commenting, Daniela, I heard from my Iraqi friends this morning. He said a crackdown on corrupt politicians. Waiting to hear more. So yes, that's the direction. As far as I can tell, fight against corruption and hopefully. And there was a massive scandal, by the way, just a few days ago. I mean, there were scandals upon scandals, but recently there was also a massive scandal. I wouldn't go into details, but because this is a fight against corruption, hopefully there will be no sectarian violence. Let's hope for that, because Iraqi people already suffer it tremendously, right? I mean, they don't need no violence whatsoever, especially on sectarian lines. They know how terrifying and devastating that is. They went through sectarian violence already. So hopefully there will be peace in Iraq. I see a question. AC is asking, Levon, do you know anything about the strike in Kiev on the uranium that was being transferred there? Uranium? No, I have not heard. I mean, I do know that there are speculations out there that Kiev regime is allowing Western countries to transfer their spent fuel from reactors to be sent into Kiev controlled territory and buried there, right? And there are speculations that under these operations, globalist controlled regimes, I mean, London first and foremost, Paris, Washington, they might move into Kiev controlled territory warheads, dirty bombs, basically, atomic bombs, basic atomic bombs that they might create it based on radioactive materials from Ukrainian reactors, from reactors that are on Ukrainian territory. This is important nuance because radioactive materials can be traced back to reactor. So for plausible deniability purposes, and I have said many times before that next, as one of the directions how Western ruling class might escalate with Russia is to transform this terrorist regime in Ukraine into a nuclear armed regime, right? And there was a whole media campaign in the West to prepare ground, right, for such a development. After all, big names in Western propaganda were pushing this narrative that Kiev regime has so much radioactive materials that they can build their dozens or even hundreds of basic atomic bombs. So ground is prepared for this, and there are speculations constantly that US, UK, France might smuggle under the pretext of transfer of this spent uranium, spend their uranium rods from reactors, right? That they might smuggle atomic bombs. But recently I have not heard much about it. Risk is there, and I spoke about such a risk many times in my programs. But in past several days or today, I have not heard anything. Let me check. Maybe this is some sort of a breaking news right now. Let me check media outlets, by the way. No. So that's what I can tell you about it. There was a Russian missile and drone strikes on Kiev past night, for example, and details were not given. Russian Defense Ministry did not really specify what exactly was targeted. Risk is real that Western ruling class might build dirty bombs and might try to blackmail Russia with the nuclear terrorism. But I don't know if Russian military struck any place where uranium was. I don't know. In Russian media, there was nothing about it in past several days, at least. If I did not miss something, but probably I did not. This kind of stuff hard to miss. So, you know. GLGL is commenting that what chance Syria had with their neighbors like Turkey, Israel, and Jordan. Also, Putin made big mistake by seeing their Astana agreement with their Erdogan. Well, there is so many reasons, isn't it? So many nuances in regards to Syria. All I can say is it's sad, by the way. It's sad that this country that was well capable of developing peacefully, right, become a target of the Western ruling class and the Zionists and was completely destroyed. And there are so many people died. And just yet another tragedy created by Western ruling class and its proxies. And without this Israel, Turkey, and Jordan were neighbors of Syria since the creation of Syria, right? So somehow Hafez Assad, the father of the Bashar, and then for quite a number of years during the Bashar's presidency, Syria was standing good, right? But only when this massive terrorist assault was orchestrated by Western ruling class and Zionists, this country failed. And at that point, really, what chances do they have? At that point, when practically the whole Western world and their proxies went after Syria. Nidish is commenting, Levan, I heard in some news outlets about leak of Chernobyl. Do you have any news regarding this? No, not about leaker. I know there was reports that there was some strikes, some explosions in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant area. But I don't. If something happened, it was a Kiev regime. Remember, last year or year before, Kiev regime actually smashed a drone into a sarcophag over their destroyed reactor. Right? They did it. There was videos, by the way. There was videos in which you can identify drones that Kiev regime was using. there was a massive, in the West, they don't look into details, isn't it? Western propaganda went to claim that, well, Russia attacked Chernobyl power plant, while in reality, it was the regime's wrong. They wanted this PR campaign, and they succeeded in that, right? No one in the West even tried to go into details, unfortunately. But right now, in past day or two, I have not heard nothing. There was a fire, by the way. Some weeks ago, there was a fire in the Chernobyl area, and whenever there is a fire, radioactive particles obviously might go up together with when ground is burning and trees and all that stuff. Radiation level might increase whenever there is a fire. It's still dangerous place, by the way, right? So maybe if there was some increase in radiation levels, probably that because of the fire, recent massive fires in the forest area around. But I have not heard anything about leak from the reactor itself, because reactor is under the old sarcophag that Soviet Union built, and then under the Western involvement with Western involvement, another sarcophag was built on the top of all the one, right? So I'm not sure there is a leak. Or could be, by the way, could be that place, that particular place where meltdown happened, going to be radioactive for forever, I guess. So not forever. Half-life. All particles have half-life, right? But that particular place where reactor went into meltdown, probably going to be radioactive for thousands of years. But under the protection, under the proper sarcophagus, it can be isolated, right? So in Pripyat, for example, radiation levels are not that high. It's basically on a normal level, and at least before this war, there was a tourist trips. Tourists were going into Pripyat city, which is abandoned, obviously, and the Chernobyl nuclear power plant was located there, like right next to the city there. And there was a tourists, by the way, moving in, and under their guidance, obviously, right? Not to mess around too much and stuff, but yeah, people are living there. People are living there, by the way, in that exclusion zones that are in Ukraine and also in Belarus. GLGL is commenting, US short on air defense too. Yes, 100%. I mean, all the data that is available from open sources indicates that US is very short on air defense. After all, they spend more air defense missiles, interceptor missiles, to protect Israel than Israel spent. How this is even possible? But yes, I mean, reports said that 2/3 of all interceptors used to protect Israel was American missiles. So, and the US had to protect not just Israel during the active phase of war, first active phase of the war, but also its own military bases all over the region, right? So I can imagine they spent thousands of interceptor missiles. Christopher Cervella is commenting, here is some YouTube channels you might like to look at. Smoothie 12. Oh, that's a great channel, by the way. Smoothie 12 is goodness me. Russian expert, American Russian expert, by the way. Oh, goodness me, how could I forget their name? Uh, Dear friends, write in the comment section, please. Uh, I recommend definitely. I recommend definitely Smoothie X12. It's about politics, by the way, geopolitics, military stuff, and um, how could I forget the name, man? It's embarrassing. But this is second hour, right? Second hour of this stream. So um, Andrei Martianov, goodness me, man. Andrei Martianov. Andrei Martianov is a hoster on that channel. Also, another channel, Murat San. I'm not familiar with this one. So thank you for recommending. Also, Military Tube Today, another one. Uh, Maybe I'm familiar with this channel. Also, RYU Military. These channels are covering Ukraine war. So thank you very much, Christopher, for sharing. And dear friends, you can read on your screen these channels and subscribe if you are not. And remember, dear friends, for first couple of years when I launched this project, I had under every video names and the links of channels that I am subscribed there. Right, I'm subscribed to a lot of channels, but channels that are about politics, geopolitics, and military stuff. And I'm gonna return that. I'm gonna go back to my old videos, just make a copy, right, of that list, and I will publish in every my videos in description box that recommendation list that I had. So whenever you want to add any channel there, you just let me know, and I will add. Thank you very much, Christopher. And let's scroll. Let's see. Let me check here. So, dear friends, my apologies if I missed your question while scrolling through chatter. Here on the StreamYard, as I have explained a few times before, there is a window on the right side, and I can see simultaneously comments from YouTube and Rumble, from both platforms. And I'm just scrolling now, looking for capital Q. GLGL is commenting. You see big capital letters, easy to spot her. GLGL is commenting. Probably something like 200,000 Russians died and 500,000 are injured. I cannot know, obviously, official numbers. Unfortunately, death toll is in tens of thousands, at least. And overall number of casualties, death admitted, injured, maybe I think could be around. I mean, yet again, I don't know. It's all speculations, right? But given the intensity of the fight, maybe you are correct, GLGL. Maybe something we are talking about something around this level of casualties, or maybe less. I don't know. I just don't know. But overall casualty number is in hundreds of thousands for sure, killed and wounded. But specific numbers, of course, only known to Russian general staff, and information is not public. So publicly, no information is given about casualties. Levan, how many political parties does Serbia have? Oh, I don't know. It is probably hundreds. I don't know. I don't know how many of those parties are infiltrated. That's the question I would be interested in. How many of those parties are infiltrated by Western ruling class and Western secret services? Probably there is hundreds of parties. Like we have here in Russia, hundreds of parties, father. There is only 5 parties in the parliament, but there are hundreds outside of parliament. I don't even know what they do, man. From outside parliament parties, only one that I have heard about is Yabloko, I guess, right? Big enough, but they are always struggling to reach this 5% plus level to be in the parliament. But Yabloko is more or less like known on the federal level. And that's about it. Outside of parliament, I don't know what other parties exist even. And we have 5 parties in the parliament. I don't know much about Serbia. Maybe members of our community from Serbia will tell us how many parties they have in the parliament. Probably also 3, 4, 5, something like that, and hundreds outside. Martin Mayer is commenting, Levan, is UK government going all out on Russia to distract its people from seeing how bad their economy and their society is? In UK itself, yes. I think one of the reasons why Western ruling class is so extreme in its policies and so hostile is to divert attention of the masses from domestic issues. That's the classical trick. That's the classical trick that usually all sorts of regimes all over the world are using whenever they are facing certain challenges, right? Domestically, first and foremost, divert attention. And while British media and all the rest, right, propaganda, public figures, while all of them are talking about, well, Russians are coming, war, British economy is collapsing. I mean, it may not collapse tomorrow or day after, but British economy is not in the greatest shape, for sure. And British society is stretched beyond limits, right? Social fabric is stretched beyond the limits. Some crazy stuff is going on in UK, by the way, recently. I mean, yesterday, literally, I saw on one of the Telegram channels a video. Some psycho is on a bicycle in a London city, central part of London, with a freaking machete. I mean, what's going on, man? What's going on? Right? So, of course, one of the most effective ways how you can divert attention, right, and ignore your own people that want to be focused on domestic issues is to move talking points towards some other stuff, right? Foreign stuff. And one of the most effective ways is to put fear in the people as much as you can. That, well, enemy is coming. Tomorrow war gonna happen. And unfortunately, Russian Federation and Russian people are used to terrify Europeans. I don't think people being terrified, by the way, honestly, though. Even though propaganda tries very much to demonize Russian Federation, demonize Russians, right? And yeah, maybe we are not most liked people now, citizens of Russia, because of this extreme hate from Western propaganda. But nevertheless, I don't think Western societies are actually terrified or truly believing that Russians are coming and all the Russians think is to go for a war with this country and then that country. I don't think this propaganda of the Western ruling class is working that much. They still are managing to ignore domestic issues, right? Because all Western media talks about is anything but actual issues that people want to be resolved in those countries, right? Now in UK, for example, I can guess. In UK, number one topic is probably who's going to be prime minister, is if it matters. And second is, oh, war is coming, Russians are coming. While British people, ordinary British people, probably first and foremost are focused on energy prices, on housing prices, right? That is skyrocketed, and the young generation cannot even dream about buying house, right? Inflation, and the rest of their stuff that they are facing on daily basis. That's the questions that people want to be addressed. And I don't think those people truly believe that, Russians are coming and Russians are so full of hate that they just want to go around and just kill people, right? And occupy everything and everybody. Why? Why would we want that? So, of course, not just UK government, but most of those Western governments that are this extreme are trying to divert attention. For sure. And also they also want to destroy Russia. They are dreaming about Western ruling class. They are dreaming about destroying Russia, especially this hatred is big among British ruling class, right? But nowadays they all looks like they're same. And if you listen to their statements, you will think these people only care about Russia, right? About war with Russia and stuff like that. Nidish is commenting, Levan, I think her best bet now for Kurds is to hope Iran wins and come under their protective umbrella. After that, as they have Kurds inside Iran and historically cousins as well. Yes, Kurds are Iranic-speaking people. Kurdish language is a language of Iranians, part of Iranian language family, right? As English is part of German language family, Kurdish is part of Iranian language family. So they are cousins. Iranians and their Kurds are cousins, and they can live together peacefully 100%. If they are clever and not allowing third parties to create some tensions between them. And well, I don't know about protection of Iran. They have no border, but Iraq might rise in next 10 to 15 years. Iraq might rise if somehow this region will manage to maintain strategical stability, which is hardly possible. But if then through Iraq, of course, Iran can do something about it. But when it comes to Syria itself, Syria is a future battleground between Israel and Turkey, I think. It's a future battleground between Syria and Turkey, Israel and Turkey, and therefore I'm not sure Syria, in the form that it was during Assad's rule or his father's rules, I don't think that Syria will survive in the same territory. Probably Syria will undergo disintegration anyways. We will see. Almost 2.5 hours this stream, and I can tell you I'm getting tired little by little. Christopher Sorella is commenting, hello, Levan. Do you know British actor George Sanders, Served July 1906, St. Petersburg, Russia, died on the 25th April 1972. I'm afraid no. I'm afraid I don't know this actor. You know, maybe, I have heard something, maybe I have seen some. I don't know. I just don't know. I love movies, by the way, so therefore, old, new, I like good movies. So maybe sometimes I have heard something, but I just cannot recall now. No, but I do like movies. I like theater, by the way. I mean, as all of you do. I mean, everybody does, right? It's nothing something unique, but really, you like theater or you like movies? Oh, how interesting. Nidish is commenting. One, EU is thinking about implementing methane tax, and USA said we are going to block exports of LNG. It's hilarious and sad. I mean, US EU relationships. I mean, these relationships are destined for a corner, isn't it? They're gonna corner themselves at one point. They're just gonna corner themselves at one point. These two economies cannot live together without eating each other, right? They cannot coexist peacefully, right? In the current circumstances, when there is a massive competition with the global south, I don't think US and European economies just can coexist. And seems like, based on information that is already available, that both countries are trying to bite off each other's economy. As of now, it looks like US is more successful. But I mean, who knows what's gonna happen tomorrow? But it's a sad, yes. I mean, it's a sad. Western ruling class is literally destroying Western world, and they're on the path to destroy the rest of the world also. That's why I call them an existential threat for humanity, because they are. They just simply are. You know. Also, I see Espaco is commenting. It is obvious that there are undeclared rules in this war, true red lines. It is no coincidence that there are no long-range American or German cruise missiles. Well, there was a lot of ATACMS that were used to strike Russian Federation, and ATACMS is quite a long-range missile system. It can fly 300 plus kilometers, same as British Storm Shadow or French Scalp PG, basically. Although ATACMS is a tactical missile, Scalp PG, Storm Shadow are cruise missiles, but their range is also 300 or something around 300, 350 kilometers, isn't it? But yes, Germany did not yet transfer their Taurus missiles, which has a 500 plus kilometers range cruise missile. I don't know what kind of rules are there in place, or what kind of behind the closed door agreements. But well, something has to be done to restore deterrent. That's what I know for sure. Something needs to be done to restore deterrent with their collective West. You know. Rus are warriors, huge loss from amazing country. Yet again, this is a men have to stand there. Okay, They're good, they're bad, they're... Thank you very much for your comment. Thank you. And also I see capital Q from Christopher Sorella, also a commentary question. Did you know they made their film in 1966 called The Russians Are Coming? The Russians Are Coming, seriously. I'm not really surprised, but I didn't knew about this. I didn't. But of course, during the Cold War, there was also hysteria, isn't it? That Russians are coming and they're gonna come, and people were. I mean, during the Cold War, people were probably truly terrified. Some people, not all, but some people probably were truly terrified because in US, for example, there was an entire industry that was building like bunkers or something, right? And you know how US is built, isn't it? It's you go outside of city and it's like a one floor housing, right? All over the place. And many people had these freaking bunkers because probably they were terrified because it costs money, isn't it? It was not free. So people were investing to build these bunkers. So therefore, probably there were, you know, actually pushed so much by propaganda that they decided that no, Russia is going to bomb us, right? So let's build this freaking bunker or purchase one. So during the Cold War, probably fear was much more real than it is now, because right now I cannot imagine any British citizen or German citizen or French citizen or citizens are sitting there and they are talking about how Russians are coming and how Russians love to do war with either France or Germany or UK. I don't think this is actually realistic, or this kind of stuff is happening because, I mean, there is more information, right? Even if people don't want to admit, because admission would not be popular, I think majority understand that it's a West that is aggressor, not the Russia, right? And Russian people have no intention to be aggressive against anybody, right? Just don't provoke, for God's sake. Let's давайте жить дружно, да? As one say goes from Russian Soviet cartoon. Let's live in peace, for God's sake, right? That's all. So I think, yes, I can understand why in those years this kind of movie could be made, and they might make such a movie now too, but people not gonna buy into it. They might not admit, but I don't think people are gonna buy into it. You know, unfortunately, Western ruling class might provoke open war. They might provoke open war, but it's them that will do this, because neither Russian people, neither Russian leadership, I'm quite sure, wants even this war to last even a single second more than it is already, right? Nothing to be said about war with the collective West, but there is no true indicators that Western ruling class is going to de-escalate anytime soon. So they might actually eventually provoke war, isn't it? They might. But we don't want this. I mean, there is a means to restore deterrent with the collective West without engaging in a large-scale war, right? It has to be some asymmetric steps taken. But when you're dealing with the Western ruling class, you know, they are irrational individuals, so therefore anything is to be expected from them. And yes, Nidish. Of course, I have heard about it. Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, have you heard about our new scam of US military industrial complex? They are talking about 1,800 kilometer range air-to-air missile. Yes, I have read about it. Such a nonsense, by the way, such a nonsense. A pure scam, isn't it? As you clarified there, it's a pure scam, a nonsense, utter nonsense, right? But God knows, I mean, they might go for, might go for it. They will probably go for it, right? There is a talk about transformation of cruise missile, isn't it, into air long range, extremely long range air-to-air missile, and God knows how much money they're gonna pocket. It's a nonsense. Everyone understands this is freaking nonsense, right? You cannot guide air-to-air missile. There is no such a freaking radars right now. They don't exist. You cannot guide missile towards target for 1,800 kilometers. No, it's just not happening, right? Impossible. Even when we say these ranges, isn't it, like Russian R-77M, right? It's 200 kilometers plus. There is similar weapons, long-range weapons that Western countries have too. China has, but one have to understand, in order these missiles to actually manage to hit something in a declared range, 200 kilometers, let's say, circumstances have to be absolutely ideal. Missile has to be launched from high altitude because there is less friction there, right? And the missile will have optimal environment to accelerate and to last in flight as long as possible. Weather will influence, wind, rain, everything does influence missile. So you have to be extremely lucky if you are firing, let's say, R-77M missile to target up to 200 kilometers. You have to be in ideal conditions and extremely lucky your missile to actually fly this distance, because everything will influence it, right? From altitude to weather conditions and the temperature and everything else. And can you imagine 1,800 kilometer missile? Utter nonsense, but as the Golden Dome idea is total nonsense, right? Given the current level of humanity's knowledge in the physics, right, and the technological level, but it's a scam. Someone will pocket another billion or two, and then program will be shut down. That's it. It's crazy, isn't it? When I read first time, I was thinking, are these crazy? Are these people so out of their mind that they don't even think about being challenged by anybody, right? How come that you are wasting so much money on this freaking nonsense? But they are, I guess, so confident that yes, they are publicly saying all sorts of nonsense stuff and asking money for it. Crazy. Let me check Rumble Bumble, and also Boosty, and Patreon. Maybe we have a new member on Patreon. By the way, when it comes to Patreon, I have yearly updates on a daily basis. I was supposed to have these yearly updates from, that was the idea at least, from Monday to Friday on weekdays. But past week and this week also, I made yearly updates on a week, yesterday and today also. I mean, why not? If I can, if I have time, why not, really? So, well, no new members on Patreon, unfortunately, and no new members on Boosty, unfortunately. But maybe one day our communities on Patreon and Boosty will actually double, and this project finally will be in a safe place, right? And I cannot even imagine how that will feel, right? When I'm no longer nervous, and it's a tiring, man. When you are constantly under this freaking pressure, what you're gonna do next month, and what you're gonna do next months after. If our community on Patreon doubles, probably this project will be in a safer place, and I'd be less nervous and less emotional, I guess, because of course, when you are under constant pressure, emotions will get to you easier. And dear friends, that's about it. Nidish is commenting, Levan from next community chat, keep energy drinks beside you. Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I can buy, I don't know, a Red Bull or something, and just to stay awake, because yet again, I mean, 1 hour is easy, relatively, right? Once you get used to these live streams, it's a pressure, obviously, but 1 hour, you can do it easy. 1 hour and a half, you are feeling being tired because you constantly talk, and same time you have to be focused on the subjects, right? Not to lose their thought process. 2 hours, it's quite something. Anything more than that, and then you are transforming into some sort of a freaking zombie, right? And 3 hours and more, you are like a zombie. You are working on automatically at that point, right? I know some people can do live streams 4 or 5 hours and stuff. I mean, it's difficult. All I can say. Longest live stream I had was a 4 hour, isn't it? Longest community chat was a 4 hour plus, and that's quite a lot, really. Alexander G is commenting. It's okay, Levan. We all get tired. Don't push it where you don't feel it anymore. Just end their stream. It's okay. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your support, Alexander. And well, hopefully I did not miss no question while scrolling through chatter. Thank you very much, dear friends, to all of you for your time, for your attention, for your support, donations that project get during the stream. And many thanks to everybody, of course, who ever supported and continues to support her. Have a wonderful day and see you tomorrow. Bye.